Hey everyone, this is Fernando doing an after-use report on the Busse Bushwacker Mistress. I've shown this knife before. I did a review on it before and show it to you guys in our videos. You can go back and look them up. But yesterday I had this tree in my backyard, 20 feet tall tree, was torn down to the side because of the wind, and basically I had to chop it down and and process it, cut it into smaller pieces so as to get rid of it. So it was yesterday in the afternoon, kind of getting late night, and I was using this saw and just not getting the results that I was looking for with this saw. And then I realized, I have like so many tools, so many big knives which are even better for this sort of stuff. So I decided to put the good old Busse Bushwacker Mistress to a test. So even though when you have a certain amount of experience with tools, with knives, when you have 10, 20 years of experience with these sort of tools, you end up understanding the designs, knowing the different steels, and even without using much that specific tool, you can give a very accurate report or a review on it without actually using it much. But it's still nice to talk a little bit about it after actually using it for a certain period of time in the kind of job that you would expect a knife like this one to do. There's different tests. For example, this isn't by any means a torture test, which some people hate. I like them. I like a good old torture test. I think that it provides certain information, the angle which a blade is capable of bending before breaking. Nas, he chops pieces of concrete with it, and some people think those tests are ridiculous because that's not the kind of use you would put some of these knives through. But still, I think that there's still valuable information to know. I just like knowing that my knife is likely capable of chopping through a concrete block without breaking, or being used as a cold chisel on a steel pipe or metal pipe and not breaking like some other knives would. It's all good. It's all good information. In my case, in this after use report, I can basically confirm many of the things that I've mentioned before. First of all, the steel, the excellent steel that is Infi. The reason why people pay the price we end up paying when buying a Busse knife. The Infi steel is no doubt excellent. After having used different machetes, different knives, yeah, I mean, I was chopping this tree down, the branches and all that, and the edge just keeps holding on. It's still very sharp, very, very sharp. It's probably still razor sharp after quite a bit of use. A lesser steel, even though very good, is not going to be keeping the edge as long as Infi steel. The design of the blade being basically a heavy short machete. Yes, even though by Busse standards this is skinny, this would be heavy for typical machete standards. It's very functional. As you notice here, because of this textured epoxy finish, how it gets all dirty so easily. Again, something that I've had mentioned before on the knife reviews. This texture thing is not as easy to get it clean back. This is one of the reasons why on my other Busse knife, the Team Gemini Light Brigade, I polished the bevels to a mirror polish. That is much easier to keep clean. And if you're going to be using this knife to cut food and such, prepare dinner, it's the kind of thing that you want to avoid. A texture that it's basically catching all the dirt that it gets into contact with. The handle, again, as I said on the other video, it looks kind of ergonomic, but I find it to be more comfortable, the typical machete shape of a handle, straight, rather than this that's kind of, all these shapes and curves and such. They do look pretty ergonomic, but in actual use, a straight handle, in my opinion, would be more comfortable. That's a matter of taste mostly. Then again, it's also a matter of proper technique. If you have good technique, the task, it's easier. Basically, you have to learn to let go a bit of it before the blade actually impacts the wood. And that in that case, you're letting the weight of the blade, the momentum, do the job, rather than just getting an iron grip and chopping like that. Just chop, little chops like that. You're basically letting the weight of the blade do most of the work. If not, it's going to be sending most of that impact through your hand and more tiring. You get tired faster and yes, this would be one of the things that you actually learn better from actual test reports. It's not the same thing to have a perfectly nice 2x4 and chop it there. In that case, you would be testing the edge and the edge retention and such. But when you have an actual tree that you have to cut down into pieces, you notice that it's it's maybe parts of it are harder to reach. You're stretching and you have maybe just a couple of inches to work with because it's not in a comfortable position. In that case, you really appreciate a very sharp blade that makes all this job easier. You basically reach there and you do little movements like that and it still digs in deep. That's great. That's the kind of thing that it makes it worth it, at least to me. One more thing, the lanyard. This is pretty important. If you're going to be using a knife, you should have one of these. It's a tool that's getting used is very likely to be dropped. You drop a heavy, sharp knife, it could be kind of dangerous. So using the lanyard correctly is pretty important. You should have one of these in any knife you're going to be using. Keep that in mind as well. So basically, yes, after yesterday I had all these pieces of wood all over and had to cut it into smaller ones so as to get rid of it. I ended up using some other tools, so I'm going to be doing other videos, especially showing some other tools that I had the opportunity to use while cutting all this stuff down. So guys, that's basically it. Remember to subscribe if you're liking my videos. Take care, have a great day, see you on our next video.